Let me welcome you to this lecture. During this lecture, we will discuss about a very important concept in organometallic chemistry, and that is the 18 electron rule. And the 18 electron rule is a very important concept or very strong concept which allows us to predict the stability of many of these organometallic compounds, as well as at times we can also predict the number of different metal-metal bonds within a given complex, and that is why it is important that we learn about the 18 electron rule. And I am sure you have already learned how to use the 18 electron rule to predict the stability of different complexes, as well as you have also done exercises where you have calculated the number of metal-metal bonds using the 18 electron rule. So essentially you have learned about the electron counting methods, and then you could do all these things. And during this lecture we will try to build upon that knowledge, and what we will do is that we will try to understand the origin of this 18 electron rule, or to say why some stable complexes deviate from the 18 electron rule, while in some cases complexes follow the 18 electron rule. So let us begin with this. So the 18 electron rule, as we all know, essentially tells us that thermodynamically stable metal complexes, or in case of thermodynamically stable metal complexes, the sum of metal valence electrons, that is the metal valence electrons, and if we add this with the electrons donated by the ligands, within a given complex, should be equal to 18, and if it is, then we say that the complex is going to be stable. Now the 18 electron rule was essentially conceived by following the Lewis octet rule. The Lewis octet rule, as we all know, tells us that for main group elements, the stable electron configuration is obtained when the number of valence electron count is equal to 8. So the same can be extended to transition metals. Now, in case of transition metals, we have total 5 d orbitals are there in transition metals, and then we also have one s orbital, and then 3 p orbitals are there in the valence cell, and that is why the 5 d orbitals can accommodate total 5 into 2, that is 10 electrons, while the s orbital can accommodate 2 electrons, and the 3 p orbital can accommodate 6 electrons. So this essentially gives us 10 plus 2 plus 6 is going to be equal to 18 electron, and this concept was initially used to conceive the 18 electron rule, which tells us that once transition metal complexes have 18 electron in the valence cell, then the complex is going to be thermodynamically stable. So now, in order to do or use 18 electron rule, what we need to do is we need to count the number of electrons, and for this there are two distinct methods are available for counting the number of electrons within a given complex. These two methods, as you all know probably, the first one we call it the neutral method, and the second method we know it as oxidation state method. So both of these two methods are distinct in the sense that in case of the neutral method, we do not consider the oxidation state of the metal ion, as well as also we do not consider the charge on the ligands while calculating the number of valence electrons, while we do so in case of the oxidation state method. So let us do electron counting for a given complex by using both of these two methods. That is, we will take as example the famous complex, that is ferrocene, iron, 2 Cp ligands. Now, when we do electron counting, we should be very careful that we stick to one particular method of electron counting, or otherwise we will be making mistakes. Because in case of the neutral method, we have to ignore the oxidation state of the metal and the charge on the ligand, or otherwise, if we mix this up, then there is going to be error in the electron counting. So let us do this by using the neutral method of electron counting first. So iron, as we know, is a D8 metal metal atom, and that is why there are 8 valence electrons in the in case of iron. And then we have for cyclopentadiene ligand in the neutral method of electron counting, the Cp ligand is considered to donate 5 electrons, each of these Cp ligand. So since we have 2 Cp ligands, so we will have to multiply 2 with 5 electrons from each of these Cp ligands. So this will essentially come out to be equal to 18 electrons. So the number of valence electron in ferrocene is equal to 18 electron, and we found this by using the neutral method of electron counting. Now let us do the electron counting by using the oxidation state method. So in this case, in case of the oxidation state method, as we have already mentioned, we need to consider the oxidation state of the metal ion, as well as we will also consider the charge on the ligands here. Since iron is in +2 oxidation state in ferrocene, now for Fe2 plus iron, the number of valence electron is going to be equal to 6. Then for a Cp ligand, now it is C5H5 negative ion, negative, because so the, each of these Cp ligand in the oxidation state method, they donate 6 electron to the metal. So that is why 2 into 6. So this again, the number of total valence electron is going to come out to be equal to 18 electron in the oxidation state method as well. So both of these two methods we have of electron counting we have seen are distinct, and in one case we do not consider the oxidation state of the metal as well as the charge on the ligand, while in case of the oxidation state method we do consider the oxidation state of the metal as well as the charge on the metal ion to find out the total number of valence electrons. So you can practice both of these two methods, but you should stick to one particular method while calculating the electron valence, number of valence electrons in a given complex at a time. So to do electron counting precisely, we need to know, or we need to be familiar with the number of electrons that are donated by each ligand for each particular method over here. So during this lecture, we will stick to the neutral method of electron counting only for simplicity. And what we will do here now is I will try to mention the number of electrons donated by some of the most frequently used ligands in organometallic chemistry. So we will classify the ligands in terms of the number of electrons they donate in the neutral method of electron counting, and that way it will be easier to memorize, or maybe to the number of electrons that are donated by different ligands. So one electron donor, or let us look at the different one electron donors that are available. So examples of one electron donor is alkyl as well as aryl. This is sigma donor, sigma aryl, again a ligand. We will discuss about these during this course. Then we also have hydryl, is a one electron donor, as well as different halide ligands are one electron donor ligands. Then we also have cyanide, is also a one electron donor over here. Then two electron donors under the neutral method of electron counts. is carbon monoxide, which is one of the most popular ligand used in organometallic chemistry, is a 2 electron donor. Similarly, phosphine is also a 2 electron donor, as well as monoolefins like ethylenes are 2 electron donor ligands. Then let us go and see examples of 3 electron donor. So eta 3 allyl is an example of 3 electron donor. Then we also have cyclopropynyl, that is, this is a cyclopropynyl ligand with positive charge in it, so that is why we call it enyl, cyclopropynyl ligand. And another very interesting 3 electron donor is the NO ligand. Then we have 4 electron donors. So diolefins like butadiene are important 4 electron donor ligands, and again we will discuss about the chemistry of these diolefins during this course. 5 electron donor we have already seen, cyclopentadienyl is a very interesting as well as important organometallic ligand which donates 5 electron under the neutral count method. Then 6 electron donors, that is eta 6 allene, that is the is a 6 electron donor here. Then 7 electron donor, examples of 7 electron donor is tropylium ion, that is C7H7 positive is tropylium ion, and it's a 7 electron donor. 8 electron donor cyclooctatetraene, that is known as that is a cyclooctatetraene is a 8 electron donor. So it's a cyclic system with 8 pi electrons, and that is eta 8 cyclooctatetraene is going to act as a 8 electron donor ligand. So here are the examples of, or here are the number of electrons donated by different kinds of ligands used in organometallic chemistry, and we have seen, or we have listed here the number of electrons these ligands donate under the neutral method of electron counting. So let us now proceed and then look at the origin of this 18 electron rule, or the reason why stable complexes are formed when 18 valence electrons are present, or the sum of the metal electrons and the ligand electrons donated by ligand is when it is equal to 18, why the complexes are stable. But not all the complexes follow the 18 electron rule, and we have already mentioned about it, and depending upon the number of electrons present within a given complex, the complexes or stable complex metal complexes can be categorized in 3 different classes. So we have class 1 metal complexes which do not obey or does not follow 18 electrons. So these metal complexes, if we do electron counting, what we will find, even though the complexes are stable, they can have anywhere between 12 to 22 valence electrons, and we have class 2 metal complexes. So these metal complexes contain the number of the number of electrons present in these class 2 metal complexes are always below 18. So they have somewhere between 12 to 18, or it can be 18 as well, but it can be 18 below 18 as well. That is, the number of electrons can be somewhere between 12 to 18 electron, and still the complexes are stable. And then we have class 3 complexes which follow 18 electron rule. So these complexes, the number of electrons present in these complexes are exclusively equal to 18, and they follow the 18 electron rule exclusively. So now we have to look at the reason, or we should look at the reason why some of these complexes actually do not follow the 18 electron rule, and they can have electrons between 12 to 22 and be stable, while again another class of complexes can be stable by having somewhere between 12 to 18 electron, and why in case of some complexes the number of electrons must be equal to 18 for stability. Now when we talk about stability, what we should memorize, or there is a very simple guiding principle for us, is that the complexes are stable when they follow certain criteria. That is, when bonding, for formation of stable complexes, bonding molecular orbital must be occupied. So we know that once bonding molecular orbitals are occupied, the complex is going to be stable, as well as anti-bonding molecular orbitals must be unoccupied, because if the anti-bonding molecular orbitals are occupied, then that will decrease the stability of the complex. And then we have finally another criteria that we can write is that non-bonding molecular orbital may or may not be occupied. So there is, whether the non-bonding molecular orbitals are occupied or unoccupied, it does not affect the stability of the metal complex. So these are very simple guiding principles that will allow us to essentially tell why certain complexes follow 18 electron rule and why in some cases they do not follow the 18 electron rule and still be stable. So in order to understand this, what we'll have to do is that we'll have to go back and then look at the molecular orbital diagram for different complexes. So what we will do here is that we will draw the molecular orbital diagram for an octahedral complex only with sigma bonding, and we can do this by using the group theory. So we know, let us draw the molecular orbital diagram for such a complex, okay, Ml6 complex with only sigma bonding will allow us to understand. So these are the d orbitals, that is say 3d orbitals, and we know the symmetry of these 3d orbitals under octahedral geometry is Eg plus T2g. Then we have the 4s orbital, so we have A1g symmetry for this, and for 4p orbital, this T1 use the symmetry. And the ligand group orbitals for formation of octahedral complex, we know their symmetry is Eg plus A1g plus T1u, that is the LGO for formation of octahedral complex. Now we can draw the molecular orbital diagram quickly. So then we have A1G bonding and A1G star antibonding. We also have T1U bonding, and then we have T1U antibonding here. Then we have EG bonding and then EG antibonding, and we know that the T2G set remains non-bonding in case of octahedral complex with only sigma bonding over here. So this is the typical molecular orbital diagram for such a complex. I have not drawn these connecting lines over here just for the for keeping the picture a little bit clean. Yeah, but you can draw these lines as well. So this is not correctly coming over here because this is A1G, so it will come out from this way. And I'm sure you can draw these molecular orbital diagrams. But then let us now count the electrons that can be accommodated in these molecular orbitals. So this A1G can accommodate 2 electrons, T1U can accommodate 6 electrons, EG can accommodate 4 electrons, and this T2G can accommodate 6 electrons, and EG star can accommodate 4 electrons. Now let us see when in case of only complexes having only sigma bonding, we see these are the bonding molecular orbitals. These are this set up to A1G, T1U and EG are the bonding orbital, and this is a non-bonding molecular orbital, and this is anti-bonding molecular orbital. So these molecular orbitals must be filled for formation of stable Ml6 complex, and when we count these electrons that can be accommodated in these molecular orbitals, that we find 2 plus 6, 8 plus 4, that is 12 electrons must be there for formation of any stable complex, and we see here that any stable complex of class 1, they must have 12 electrons at least. Now these molecular orbitals, that is non-bonding T2G molecular orbitals, can be either filled or empty, and that will not change the stability of the complex. So when we add these electrons, 6 electrons over here, we get up to equal to electron counting comes up to 80. But then what we should note here is that for these class 1 metal complexes, these are formed by ligands which are weak field in nature, and that is why the EG star molecular orbital is not strongly antibonding in case of the class 1 metal complexes, and that is the reason why the EG star, even if we fill the EG star molecular orbital, the stability of the complex is not going to decrease significantly, and we can still have stable metal complexes when the EG star molecular orbital is occupied. So that will, when we add the electrons in the EG star molecular orbital as well, so that is 2 plus 6 plus 4, that is 12 plus 6, 18 plus 4, we get electron counting up to 22, and this is the reason why there are complexes, or there are complexes formed by weak field ligands, or even complexes formed by pi donor ligands. We know when we have pi donor ligands, the CFSE essentially decreases, and it essentially what happens is that the EG star becomes less antibonding in nature, and that is why whether we have weak field sigma donor ligands or we have these pi donor ligands, weak field pi donor ligands, then we will essentially be making the EG star molecular orbital less antibonding, and the EG star can be accommodated, and that is why we can have electrons up to 22 electrons can be present in such complexes, and the complex can still be stable. So this is the reason we have seen for class 1 metal complexes why they do not follow the 18 electron rule. Now let us go to complexes of class 2. These are metal complexes formed by heavier transition metals. That is, when we have transition metals of the 4D series or the 5D series, then in case of these metal complexes, even though the ligand we use are weak field in nature, because we know that as we go down the group, CFSE increases. So for heavier transition metals, for 4D or 5D metals, the CFSE is anyway going to be high, and Eg star is not going to, is going to be strongly antibonding in nature, and that is why Eg star, if it is occupied, then it will decrease the stability of the complex, and that essentially tells us that we can have these 12 electrons in these bonding molecular orbitals, as well as we can have electrons in the T2G non-bonding molecular orbitals, so that is 6 electrons. So up to 18 electrons we can have, and then the complex is going to be stable. So complex can have anywhere between 12 to 18 electrons, and the complex is going to be stable because we are still not filling the antibonding molecular orbital, and here because the T2G set is non-bonding in nature, whether we fill it or whether we do not fill it, it is not going to affect the stability of the complex, and that is why even complexes having 12 electrons are going to be stable. So now let us go to the third class of complexes which strictly follow the 18 electron rule. These complexes are formed by the pi acceptor ligands. So when we know, or if we look at the molecular orbital diagram for octahedral complexes with pi acceptor ligands, what we will see is that the pi acceptor ligands, the pi bonds are formed by empty orbitals, that is LGO, used for formation of pi bond are essentially empty in nature, and their energy are high, and the symmetry of the LGO is T1G plus T2G plus T1U plus T2U. So when we have formation of pi bond, what is going to happen is now the T2G is no longer going to be non-bonding in nature, and instead the T2G molecular orbital is going to be bonding here, and we will also have T2G star somewhere over here. Now what we see is that the CFSE increased because we are using a pi acceptor ligand over here, and also the T2G becomes bonding here, it is no longer non-bonding, and that is why the T2G set of orbitals must be filled for formation of stable metal complexes, and because EV is strongly antibonding, they should not be filled for formation of stable metal complexes. And now we must extend, because the bonding, this is the bonding set of molecular orbitals, and all of these molecular orbitals must be occupied for formation of stable complexes, and when we count the number of electrons that must be added to fill all of these bonding molecular orbitals, the electron count will come out to be equal to 18, and that is why we have seen why these complexes formed by pi acceptor ligands essentially must follow the 18 electron rule, as all the bonding molecular orbitals must be occupied, or otherwise the stability of the complex is going to be lost. So this is the origin of 18 electron rule, or we can understand 18 electron rule in this way by using the molecular orbital theory. Now let us discuss why even complexes formed by pi acceptor ligand which late transition metal at times do not follow the 18 electron rule. So that is the complexes of late transition metals, that is complexes formed by elements of group 10, 11 or group 12, that is the nickel group, copper or zinc. These metal ions, even complexes formed by strong filled pi acceptor ligands, at times they do not follow the 18 electron rule, or we can isolate stable metal complexes of these metals with pi acceptor ligand which do not have 18 valence electron. So the reason for this is that these metal ions are, or these metals are late transition metals, and that is why they have large number of electrons as compared to early transition metals, and they are electron rich in nature. Now if we add a high number of ligands surrounding these metals to so that the electron counting comes out to be equal to 18, what is going to happen is that there is going to be accumulation of large negative charge on the metal atoms, and this is against the electroneutrality principles, and the metals, these electron-rich metals, would like to avoid this by having less number of ligands surrounding them instead, and that is why many of these metal atoms essentially or metals essentially form complexes which which number of electrons which are less than 18 electron. Or what we can say is that in case of groups and metals, the 16 electron, many complexes with only 16 electrons are essentially stable metal complexes. Now, what we can argue over here is that we know that the metals, when it accepts electron density from the ligand, it can also, because we are talking about pi acceptor ligands here, it can also give back electrons to the ligand in the form of pi back donation, and this way the electron density on the metal can be reduced, because when there is pi back donation to the ligand, there is transfer of electron from the metal to ligand, and the electron density or the extra electron density that is accumulated in the metal can be dissipated to some extent by because of formation of this pi back bonding, and that is why once again we can say that such metals should be able to accommodate higher number of ligands surrounding them, even because the electron density can essentially be dissipated by using pi back donation. But that is also not the case, or there is also reason that the such late generation metals do not form, or the extent of back donation in such late generation metal are essentially less as compared to what you see in case of early generation metal. So what is that, if we plot the energy of d orbitals for atoms of the first generation metal atoms of the first generation series, that is, if we start from group 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then also say 12. So what we will see as we go from left side of the periodic table towards the right side of the periodic table, the overall trend, this is not the exact trend, but the overall trend is that the energy of the d orbitals decrease as we go from the left side of the periodic table to the right side of the periodic table. The reason is very simple, because as we go from the left to the right side, the effective nuclear charge is going to increase, and because of this increase in the effective nuclear charge, the d orbitals experience stronger attraction towards the nucleus, and the energy of the d orbitals decreases as we go from the left side of the periodic table to the right side. And because the energy of these d orbital or because the lower energy of the d orbital essentially prevents donation of electrons from the low energy d orbitals to high energy pi star or pi acceptor and high energy orbitals of these pi acceptor ligands, and that is why the extent of pi back donation from such late transition metal to pi acceptor ligand is less as compared to what you see in case of early transition metals, and that is why say these late transition metals are not able to dissipate the extra electron density that is going to be accommodated in such metal ions when we have large number of ligands surrounding them, and this is the reason why they would prefer not to have too many ligands surrounding them, and this essentially brings the number of electron less than 18 for or what we can say is that stable metal complexes are formed even when the number of total electron is less than 18. So we can explain this by using an example. So let's take a nickel phosphine complex. So if we count the number of electrons and the nickel phosphine complex over here, what we will see is that for nickel, it's a D10 metal atom, so 10 electrons, and phosphine we know is a 2 electron donor, So that is the number of electron is going to be equal to 18. So this is the 18 electron species. Now this particular complex, if we keep it at 25 degrees Celsius, it is in equilibrium with another species, that is formed when we remove one of the phosphine ligand from this complex. So this complex is in equilibrium with this particular species that we get after removing one phosphine ligand. So what we can say that both of these two species are equally stable. So if we count the number of electrons in this particular case, what we will see, it comes up to be 16 electron species. So what we see here is that even a 16 electron species here is stable, and the reason we can say again, the less the the reluctance of nickel to donate electron density to the pi acceptor ligand, that is phosphine here, because of lower the energy of the d orbitals here, as well as the phosphine is not a good pi acceptor ligand, or the ability of phosphine to accept pi electron density from metal is quite less as compared to other pi acceptor ligands, and that is why the extent of pi degradation here is quite less, and this is the reason why nickel prefers to have only 3 phosphine ligands instead of 4 phosphine ligands, say, and even when, what we can say is that even when 3 phosphine ligands are present surrounding a nickel center, giving us a 16 electron species, that is going to be equally stable to a 18 electron species where there are 4 phosphine ligands surrounding the nickel metal. So now what we can say, or what we can think, is that probably if we use a better pi acceptor ligand, then the scenario might change and we might end up with stable complexes, or we might end up with a case where 16 electron species of such group 10 metal atoms are going to be less stable as compared to 18 electron species. Let us look at another example. So that is pentacyanonickelate here. Now this particular species, if we count again the number of electrons, that is 10 plus cyano, we know 1 electron donor, and we also need to add the negative charge on it, so that is 3 electrons. So this will come out to be equal to 18 electron over here, and in this case the equilibrium is favored towards the right hand side. Again, if you count the number of electrons, which essentially is the 16 electron species is formed here after removal of one of the cyano ligand. So the equilibrium in this case is favored towards the right hand side, or towards the 16 electron species. Again, even though cyano is a better pi acceptor ligand than the phosphine that we have discussed earlier, so here we expected that the 18 electron species should have been more stable, but that is not the case. The 16 electron species is more stable. The reason again we can say is that in this case, instead of nickel 2 in case of the nickel phosphine complex, or nickel 0, here in this case we have nickel in class 2 oxidation state. Because of the positive charge on the metal, the energy of the d orbital further decreases, or because of the larger contraction the d orbitals experience from the positively charged metal center, the energy of the d orbitals in nickel 2 are much less as compared to the energy of d orbitals in case of nickel 0, and the d orbitals are more reluctant, not less, more reluctant to donate electron density to the pi star ligand, or the extent of pi back donation in this case is going to be even less, and that is why what we see is that the equilibrium is now shifted towards the right hand side, or towards the 16 electron species instead of the 18 electron species. So this allows us, or the electroneutrality principle allows us to explain the stability of 16 electron species in case of group 10 or group 11 or group 12 metal complexes, or we can explain why there is deviation from 18 electron rule for these complexes formed by late transition metals. So this essentially brings us to the end of this lecture. What we have learned during this lecture is about the 18 electron rule. We have learned how to do electron counting by using both the neutral method of electron counting as well as the oxidation state of metal counting. Then we discussed how we can use molecular orbital theory to understand the 18 electron rule, or we can say why certain complexes, even after having the different number of electrons rather than having 18 electrons, can be stable. So we could classify the metals in 3 different categories, and we could tell for each of these categories why the electron counting or can be either 18 electron or can be less or more than 18 electron for the formation of stable metal complexes. And finally, we have also discussed why in case of late transition metals, they deviate, complexes formed by these late transition metals may deviate from the 18 electron rule. So let me conclude this lecture with this, and I thank you very much for being with me during this lecture.